I'm now going to continue my video series on Henry Ward Beecher and his sermons by discussing Matthew chapter 12, verses 46 through 50. Now, at first it might look like Jesus is being rude, but in actuality, he was trying to teach several valuable lessons at the same time. Let me explain. Jesus already knew that he was getting closer and closer to the crucifixion and the resurrection, and he also knew that his disciples were going to need a support system after he was taken away. But he also knew that anybody who became a disciple after Jesus was taken away would also need a support system. Why? Because as we Christians get older, our elders do eventually pass away. What do you do for a support system then? Well, that's what Jesus was trying to say. These disciples were his brothers, his sisters, his parents. And likewise, we have to treat our fellow Christians in the same manner, because we may have to depend upon each other as we weather the storms of life. And the storms of life do come time and time again. So basically, Jesus was trying to set up a support system for Christians. That's what this was all about. Secondly, he was also trying to get you to appreciate your fellow Christian. What do I mean by that? Well, let me put it in this context. I have a video game for the Super Nintendo Entertainment System called Earthbound. And when my first girlfriend passed away, I spent a lot of time playing that video game to kind of reconcile her passing. Okay? It was a very sad time, and it helped me get through my mourning process. And that's why I treasure the game to this very day, and I still have it. Okay? It's safely locked away, and whenever I want to remember that experience, I take the video game out and I play it and I remember. Okay? It came at just the right time. Likewise, how do you miss something if you never had anything to do with it? You know, you read the obituaries every day of all these people that have passed away. Do you mourn their losses? Not unless you had some direct connection to them. You can't mourn what you didn't know anything about. How can you mourn a loss when you had no connection to it? You see what I mean? Why do you mourn your relatives so much? Because you spent so much time with them. You got to know them. They got to know you. You spent quality time with them. If you didn't, you didn't mourn them. That's the way it works. And that's the way it should be with Christians. Christians should be able to spend time with each other and get to know one another. That way, when one of them does pass away, you feel a sense of mourning. You feel a sense of loss. Okay? Because you can't mourn somebody you didn't get to know. You don't miss somebody that you never spent time with. It doesn't work that way. Getting to know a person brings you closer to that person. And if you're brought closer to that person will then miss you if you pass away. See what I mean? That was the point. Now, there's lots of other points to be brought up from this particular sermon I've been reading, but I'm going to bring them up at a different time. But do you see why it's so important to get involved with Christianity? Getting to know people brings you closer to those people, and then when one of them does pass away, you feel that sense of loss. And that makes you a better human being. It draws out the compassion that's supposed to be inside your heart. One of the biggest things of Christianity is compassion. How can you feel compassion if you've never gotten to know anybody? It doesn't work that way. Alright, I will tell you more in a future video. Stay tuned.